but we'll find out. It does look like we are live. I can't tell if the sound is working or not. Let me turn this up. I can't necessarily hear us. Can anyone hear us? If anyone can hear us, just let me know. I don't think they can. All right, well, why is that showing up but not having an output? This doesn't make any sense. Why does this not make... Oh, because I think because this should be plugged in here if I'm hearing. No. Oh wait, there we go. Yeah, we're back. Okay, we should be fine.
All right, maybe we'll actually get to say something today.
Yeah. Well, it's all you.
All right. Hopefully we have sound now. We've been having some issues with the microphones. We are down to a single microphone. Um, so hello and welcome to my virtual book launch, everyone. Uh, I'm Amber Hathaway, and this is my partner Brian, and he's kind of here to hang out and keep an eye on the chat. And he can talk whenever he wants to. But so yeah, um, where did I put my book? Oh, here it is.
Yeah, I think only Mary is actually in here right now. So from the so hi Mary. Hopefully you can hear us all right.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear us. So I'm going to keep talking, assuming people can hear us, unless someone tells me otherwise. But my new book, Little White Flowers, came out on Tuesday, and so I guess probably what I'm going to do is just talk a little bit about the book and the history of like making it. And if you have any questions, it's kind of like just a casual chat Q&A, so feel free to pop into the chat anytime you want. And I'm happy to answer questions or elaborate more on things. So the basic premise of my story is Alice Drayton and her brother Andy are sent to the small, isolated rural town of Evanston, Maine, to clean out an estranged relative's estate. Now, Alice's grandmother ran away from home as a teenager and refused to talk about her family. And so Alice sees this as her chance to hopefully finally learn more about her grandmother's mysterious past. But when they get to Evanston, it turns out Evanston is home to an insular religious community that is very wary of outsiders, we'll put it that way. And as Alice digs into the her grandmother's past, she starts realizing that there's something wrong with the town as a whole. So that's the basic premise of the story. And so the way the book came to be, all started on July 31st, 2009. I was a teenager. I was going through a Stephen King reading phase that summer. And so my parents, well, not my parents, my mom and siblings had gone to the Bangor State Fair. My dad and I stayed home, and I was like, this is going to be the day I read Night Shift. And so I started reading early in the morning, read the entire collection inside of the day. Even passed up on a trip to Burger King to finish reading. And by the time I got to the end of the story, like it was a great collection, but one of my absolute favorite stories in the collection was Children of the Corn. And so it sparked a little bit of an idea for me. I went to bed that night. I woke up like in the middle of the night at some point, and I had like the first few paragraphs of the story. So I very quickly jotted them down, and that was the start of it. And then over the course of the next like 3 weeks, I just started writing more and more and more. I had had a goal to write a novel for a very long time. And so but I was like, I can't finish it in like, I had like a month of summer vacation left. And I was like, I can't finish it in this short amount of time. And so I just kept writing. And then like, I was like, wait, if I'm actually getting somewhere with the story, because I had a habit of like setting aside stories. I did that so often. I had such a hard time finishing them, but I got a decent chunk in. And then I was like, all right, I'm just gonna, power through this. We're gonna get it done. And I managed to finish it inside of 3 weeks. It was a very, very rough draft, we'll say, just barely 50,000 words, and covered roughly the timeline that you see in book one and the sequel that will come out next year. So that was how it came to be. And then it was just kind of a long process of I set it aside. I was going to college at the time, and so I finished my undergrad and my master's, and I tinkered with it a little bit here and there, but I didn't really have time to work on it a lot until I finished my master's. And then that summer, sorry, I got sidetracked. So I was at the summer after I finished my master's, I overhauled it, and that was when I realized I had 2 books on my hand. And so finished a draft of the first one, drafted the second one, and then set things aside again, finished my PhD, and then I came back to it and re-edited it all over again, sent it out to an editor, my editor, Vicki Brewster, and they are amazing and really helped me get it into a great shape. And now it's a book. So.
Oh, you're not getting audio or video. The thumbnail is up, but nothing else. Oh.
Oof, that's not good.
Well, it's playing on yours right there. So, Oh, you're about to reply.
Like maybe just try going back out and in again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's odd. That's an odd situation. It's too bad Mary's having that issue. So, I mean, she must have been confused because we started and she probably thought that we were still having issues. So, yeah.
Well, we'll hang on for a second and see if these issues can get resolved.
So, I mean, you can continue to talk about your book though in the meantime, right?
Yeah. So, let's see. I mean, I do want to do like read an excerpt, but I want to make sure everyone is there to hear it before I get into that. So,
I mean, like I said, you can talk about your book more, right?
well, yeah, I'm just trying to think of what to talk about.
Well, I mean, some of the questions that people asked you from the talk, right?
Um, let's see, what did people ask me?
Well, they asked you about your writing process and development and things like that, right?
Yeah, okay. So one thing is that I am very much a discovery writer. So people were very curious about my writing process. And so did I plan out this story? No, I absolutely did not. I am, as I said, a discovery writer. And so I came with this like very basic idea that I had in the middle of the night that one night. And then I just wrote it all out and without any planning, without having any idea of where it was going. And that's kind of how I approach all my stories. Like I've tried outlining a few times. I have one I'm working on right now that I was like, I'm going to outline this whole thing. And then like within a few chapters, I had already veered off, way off script essentially. So yeah, that's kind of my writing process. Any more questions, or do we want to do like an excerpt or whatever people want to do? I'm open to. So
Yes. Well, we also want to say welcome for real this time,
yes,
Mary.
welcome. We're very glad to have you here now that it's actually like working.
Hopefully, we are coming through loud and clear at this point in time.
Yeah, we've been having so many issues with the mic lately.
So, if you have any questions, let us know, Mary. And yeah, I guess another question that people kind of asked is like, how do you relate to your characters, or how do you write about things that you aren't familiar with, or those kinds of things?
Yeah, so there's a couple good questions there. So as to like relate, or one of the questions was like, which character do I relate to the most? And I definitely relate to the protagonist, Alice Drayton, the most. And like there are some very big differences between us, but I do see a little bit of my younger self in there. And I also used her as an outlet for my anxiety. So I've struggled with anxiety for a long time. It got really bad in my mid 20s, and I kind of used her as a vehicle to talk about it, essentially. And so you'll see a lot of anxiety representation in this book, trying to work, her Alice trying to work through her anxiety. And it was kind of my way of coping with that.
And Mary asks, has anyone ever recognized themselves in one of your characters?
Well, that's a good question. I have not been told if they have. So I don't intentionally write characters like based on people. I will take like little traits and like pluck them and like group them together to make a character, especially if I'm trying to build something outside my own experience. So like, but I have not been told. Now, one interesting thing is I do have a character in here, my antagonist. The main antagonist is named Stephen Miller.
I was gonna actually
And
bring
I
that up.
actually know met I made this fictional character up before I met the real Stephen Miller. And at that point in time, so he's
Met a real
a
Stephen.
real Stephen Miller. Yes, there's multiple ones because okay, the way I came up with Stephen Miller's name was I was looking up common, like I use like most common last names in Maine, right? And Miller is like one of the most common last names in Maine. And then I don't remember exactly Stephen. It was like maybe Stephen King or something like that, you know. But I just put it together, and then like 7 years later when Pokemon Go comes out, or maybe like whenever the raid started in Pokemon Go, there's a professor at UMaine, I don't know if he's retired now or not, named Stephen Miller, and he was on the opposing team. So I'm Team Mystic, he was on Team Instinct. And so he's a very, very nice person. I did not write write him as my antagonist. They have nothing in common except for the name, but that is you know, it's just so far. Well, he's also married to one of my favorite professors, so I'm always like a little afraid she's gonna think I wrote her husband as the villain. And it's like, no, no, I just didn't want to change the name after I'd known him for so long, you know.
So that's the excuse she uses, but I know the real truth.
No, one time we were walking past him because we, you know, he still plays Pokemon Go at UMaine, and like after he'd walked past Brian's, I don't remember what you said exactly, but basically, we're like, there goes the villain or something like that. And I was like, don't say that. Like, because again, I did not write him based on the Stephen Miller I know now. And the Stephen Miller I know now is a very nice person from what I know. But
So, I guess one of the other kind of questions is that how far along have you planned out books one, two, and three? Well, I mean, two and three.
they are written. So book two is currently in the formatting stage. And at the end of this month or the beginning of next month, I'm going to be doing a release date reveal and title reveal. So book two is essentially done. It's just being put into book format. There's a lot of reasons why it's going to take longer for it to get to print, but just because the publishing process is very long. But you should have like an official release date for it soon. Book three is drafted, and I have my feedback from my editor. So I'm juggling so many writing projects right now, but my plan is this winter to sit down and implement the changes that they have suggested, and then after that, it will probably need like a final editing pass. I tend to write very clean drafts, so meaning that it doesn't have to go through as many rounds of editing. The development is where I need to do the most work, but by the time I get done with the developmental work, I have a very polished piece and it just needs a little bit of zhuzhing up.
And so another question that folks asked you was, who kind of has helped you out with your writing, or are there people who've helped more with your writing or whatnot?
This guy. There have been a number of people who have helped me with my writing. So Brian, well, first of all, when I first drafted it, I just gave it to my mom and sister to read. And then I met you like 6 or so months after I wrote that draft. Maybe not even that. It wasn't very long after. So I didn't introduce it to you immediately, but once I started editing it, I started asking for Brian's feedback. And so he's been my critique partner for years and years and saw it in some of its roughest states and helps me out a lot. And Brian's mom also helped me when I got to the point in 2014 where I was like revising it. I sent it to her and she gave me some really good feedback. And then after that, 2022 is when I sent it to my editor and they gave me amazing feedback, and now it's a book. So, but Brian and my editor are probably the two biggest people who helped me with my editing.
And I guess another question is like, so why has it taken you so long to write book one?
There's a few reasons. One was like the first time you do anything, you do it badly. And so, I wrote the first draft when I was 19. I didn't know a thing about writing. I'd never written a novel before. I was an avid reader. And you might think that being an avid reader would mean that you know how to tell a story, but there are so many things that you don't really think about when you're writing a novel for the first time. Like the first draft of this had a lot of filler, scenes that didn't really go anywhere, that I was trying to do character development. And the key thing is you need to develop your characters as you move the plot. So a lot of newbie writers, and I did this, will kind of like pause time so you can get to know the characters, hang out with them before you start the story. But these days, readers really want to get right into the heart of the story. And I'm still like considered my stories are a bit of a slow burn. But you are getting like right into the story of it. Whereas, when I first wrote this, it was like, we pause for the first 7 chapters and just get to know the characters. And the other thing was I was going to school. So I was like 2 years into, was it 2 years? No, I just finished my first year of undergrad or second. I don't remember. I was early in my undergrad when I drafted this. And I just finished my first year of undergrad. And so, and I did my master's, I did my PhD, and so trying to like edit a novel and go to school is it can be a lot to juggle. Like, I mean, if you had gone to school and tried doing those kind of things too, I'm sure you probably can relate. But I think especially like doing a PhD in physics and writing, although interestingly, like some of my most productive writing times were when I had like other things I had to do. Like I drafted like part of like this massive choose your own adventure novel that I do want to finish someday during that time period. And I also drafted part of like a romance novel. I had like, would just kind of, but it's really hard to edit a book for the first time. It's really hard to write a book for the first time. Those things just they kind of take time.
How did your writing experience differ from book one to book two and book three?
It was, so book one took a very long time because I didn't know what I was doing. Book two, I actually wrote twice. So that first one I wrote in 2014, I still didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have enough plot for a full story. So, but then when I came back, so I was like, oh, well, I will revise this. And I was like, oh no, there's not enough here to revise. I need to start from scratch. So I had finished book one, start writing book two, use nothing of that. But that time around, it actually like started coming together. I knew a lot more about, even though I wasn't plotting, like I was just writing it down as it comes to me. I had a lot better idea of like every chapter has to move the story forward, and thinking about how is this moving the story forward, all that kind of stuff. So that was it was a lot easier. Like it was hard still. Writing a book, so far I have not found one that's easy. I've finished 3 books. I'm drafting 2 more. Well, not finished, but finished. I've drafted 3+ books, and I'm currently drafting 2 more. They all have their challenges. The first one, though, was the hardest in that you don't know what you're doing. Second one is hard in this, like, can I actually repeat this? There's that repeatability. And then the third one was hard just because, like, it's set 11 years in the future, and I have to kind of balance, like, taking characters that we know and, like, aging them up in a way that they still feel familiar but also don't feel like they're stuck in the past. And that's something I'm still working through in my revising. So they all had their own unique challenges.
And you have experience in writing short stories and novels at this point in time. Is there a difference in your technique and how you approach those, or do you approach them similarly? And which ones do you enjoy writing more?
I do have different, I'll start with the easier question. I do have different techniques for writing them. Although my technique, like, kind of, it really varies really depends on the project. Short stories, I'll tend to write, like, just in one go. And then I'll worry about, like, trying to edit them later. With novels, what I've started doing is, like, I will write a chapter and then I'll edit the chapter and get it to a point where it's, like, reasonably finished and complete, and then I'll move on and write the next chapter. Because the problem with, like, a 80,000 or 95,000 word novel is, like, if you just draft that out and then you go back to edit, it's overwhelming. That's the other piece of what took book one so long, is I would edit the first few chapters and they're pretty good. But then you get to the hard stuff, and then I realized there's, like, 40 chapters left to go in the book, and, like, so I just, like, put it aside, and then I come back to chapter 1 and, oh look, chapter 1 is fine, and just, like, rinse and repeat. So the way I kind of kicked myself out of that cycle is by editing as I go, and so that when I get done, like, there's still, like, going to be, like, changes that I have to make to the story because I've learned new things as I'm writing, but it's much less daunting than having to polish up an entire manuscript. As for, like, which I like better, I mean, there are things I like them both in different ways. Like, the nice thing about short stories is that you can finish them and it doesn't take you like a year or so to do so. Like, they're much more, in some ways they're easier to finish. In some ways they're harder because you have so little space to work with. You've got to, keep the pace up. You've got to develop characters, but you can only do so much with them in so many words. So that's a little bit tricky. But with a novel, like, the thing I like about that is you really get to dig deep into the characters in the world. But the downside is you're going to be writing it for a very long time.
Do you have a favorite writing project that you've undertaken? That's a very loud bang.
Yeah, apparently I just wanted to break everyone's ears. I mean, I think I like all of them in their own way. Like, I adore this book so much. But I can't really pick favorites. And like, it's not out yet, but book two, like, I love this book. It has all of my heart, but I feel like book two is even a little bit better because, like, I don't know. You'll have to see it when it comes out, but I don't know. I really love that one. And I think I'm gonna love book three once I get it through editing. So like I love them all in their own ways. And so my short stories, I love them too. They all have a little piece of my heart. And so it's kind of like, you're not supposed to have favorite children. I don't know if I have a favorite book.
And Mary asks, have you ever set aside a project and upon returning or revisiting it, taken a 180-degree change of direction?
I have definitely like made drastic changes to projects I've set aside. So this one, I did like when I first drafted it, and then when I came back to it, the basic story stayed the same, but I made a lot of changes to characters, added new plot points. I'm trying to think if there's one that I've completely redone. I definitely have gone in slightly different directions than what I thought I was going to, but I feel like that's my writing process in general. Like, I come to a story, usually I have an idea at the beginning and an idea at the end, and everything else is a complete mystery to me until I get to it.
Has there ever been a time when I tore apart your stuff
Oh,
so
yes,
badly that you had to rewrite everything?
yes, that happens all the time with my short stories. Brian just absolutely shreds them, and then I have to rebuild them from scratch. But they come out stronger. I really my short story Jane that was published in Grizzly, a charity anthology, is one that Brian destroyed, but it came out so good and I love it. Sometimes things have to be like, if someone like breaks that, sometimes your writing has to be broken down to get better. So
Yeah. Well, I think now we've kind of gone through a lot of questions. If Mary hasn't any other questions here, then we'll answer that one. But then, if not, we'll do a little bit of an excerpt of reading.
yeah, we'll read a little bit of this. I'm just going to read from the prologue.
Yeah. We'll give them like 30 seconds to
Yeah, because of the lag, that's
yeah,
right.
The lag is pretty substantial here. So, I mean, like, if I hold up the finger now, we can see that it's going to take a few seconds. Like, how long is this lag? Pretty long.
It's very laggy.
Very laggy. It looks like we've got like 30 seconds worth of lag here. It's already been like 10 seconds. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's been, it was about 15, 20 seconds. So, I think at that point in time, if no one else has any questions, we'll go from there.
All right.
All ears.
The elevator jolted to a standstill, and Alice Drayton's heart jerked with it. Her older brother, Andy, squeezed her shoulder. The corners of his mouth arced upward, veering into a semblance of a smile, but his eyes' glossy sheen undermined his effort. Tears prickled the edges of her eyes, and she focused on the glowing red number 6 on the elevator's display screen. The elevator dinged, and the doors lurched apart. Alice's feet carried her through the exit of their own accord. Her surroundings retained an air of haziness, as though she moved through a dream world. The thud of her and Andy's footsteps against the floor's white and gray tiles echoed in her head, supplanting the rushing thoughts which would otherwise have filled her mind. A counter with a sliding glass window stood at the end of the lobby opposite the elevator. A woman in floral scrubs sat behind the counter, jotting notes onto a clipboard. Wide corridors extended from the right and left ends of the lobby. Alice smoothed the section of her waist-length, mousy blonde waves with her hands and strode alongside Andy down the left corridor. A 30-something man dressed in blue scrubs and a white medical coat with thick brown curls like Andy's moved in the opposite direction. He gave her a nod as he passed her. The hallway shared the same tiling as the lobby. Wooden doors cut into the deathly white walls, 6 on either side. The air hummed with the sound of electronic devices, a combination of machinery and muffled voices playing from televisions. The corridor veered right. Fluorescent bulbs illuminated the majority of its length, but the final rectangular light fixture flickered on and off. The hallway ended in a set of double doors, one with a red stop sign proclaiming medical personnel only. Before the sign, on the right side, stood an open door. A room number was posted beside it in small black numerals, 617. Those 3 numbers broke through the dazed fog that had clouded Alice's head since Andy received the phone call. Her gut became heavy, as though her lunch had morphed into concrete. Grammy lay beyond that door. Andy tapped his knuckles on the door frame. His hands were the same alabaster shade as Alice's, with fluctuating red-pink undertones. "Who is it?" a raspy voice called. "Your favorite grandchild," Andy said. "And me." "Don't be silly. You're both my favorite." Andy gestured toward the doorway, and Alice tiptoed into the tiny room. It smelled of antiseptic with a trace of Grammy's floral perfume. Sunny yellow walls greeted Alice, their color more taunting than soothing. An array of flowers in oversaturated shades of orange, red, and violet congregated atop a table against the wall facing her. Cards hung from the bulletin board above the table. One of them said in large black cursive script, "Wishing you a speedy recovery." Her heart sank. There would be no recovery, speedy or otherwise. Ellen Drayton's bed stood opposite the bulletin board, flanked by massive pieces of machinery. Alice's eyes misted. The figure in the bed looked like Grammy, but she seemed too small, too fragile, as though Ellen had been swapped out for a doll, vacant-eyed with limp, unmoving limbs. Instead of her signature bun, Ellen's silvery curls drooped over her shoulders. The rosy hues had faded from her porcelain complexion. An intravenous line punctured the long blue vein showing through her wrinkled, sagging flesh. Ellen's eyes lit up, and she held out her unencumbered arm. "There's my little girl. How are you, sweetie?" Alice gave Ellen a hug. Ellen's arm wrapped around Alice and hung there, exerting little more force than a tinsel garland. Tears trickled down Alice's cheeks. "I'm okay, Grammy. How are you?" "The morphine's great." Hints of a smile tugged at Alice's lips. She wiped her eyes with the sleeve of the University of Maine sweatshirt she had nabbed from Andy and settled into the chair neighboring the bed. Andy's fingertips brushed her upper arm as he moved past her. "And how's my handsome grandson? You look so much like your father when he was your age." "I'm all right," Andy said. He hugged Ellen and then stepped back beside Alice. His phone buzzed. He peeked at the screen and then turned to Alice. "Mom's here. I'm going to meet her at the elevator, okay?" Alice nodded. He ducked through the doorway. The trills and beeps of the room blared in Alice's ears. Her mind scrambled through the smattering of pleasantries that had accumulated over the years, rejecting each one. Nobody cared about the weather on a day like today. "I can see the Hatcher in you," Ellen said. She smiled, but her eyes glistened. "Not as much as I see it in your brother, but it's there. Those eyebrows, the shape of your face. You remind me a little of myself when I was a teenager." "Do I?" Ellen nodded. "Oh, yes. Yes, you do." Her smile melted. "I have a confession." "What is it, Grammy?" Ellen closed her hand around her golden cross pendant. "I shouldn't burden you with this, but I know I haven't much longer, and I can't go with a clean conscience unless I tell someone. Please keep in mind that I was young and powerless. I couldn't stop it." Ellen's gaze shifted heavenward. She wore the expression of a grieving stone angel. The clock above the bed ticked as the seconds slipped by. Alice squeezed Ellen's free hand. "It's okay, Grammy. You can tell me." "I had 3 sisters," Ellen said. "They were murdered, slaughtered like pigs." Her voice cracked, and tears slipped down the sides of her face. They wilted like flowers, little white flowers. Alice's hand locked atop her grandmother's. She felt like she had reached that instant during a nightmare when she realized she was dreaming. This time, however, she couldn't will herself into an alternate storyline. Grammy must be mistaken. Otherwise, she had carried this horrible secret for more than 60 years. Mucus stung the back of Alice's throat as she sniffed. How could Grammy have shouldered that burden alone for so long? The clack of high heels against tile filtered into the room. Elizabeth Drayton raced through the entry with Andy close behind. Alice pulled away from Ellen, and Elizabeth took Alice's place. "Are you all right, Mom?" Elizabeth said. "Just fine, dear," Ellen said. She dried her eyes with the back of her one hand. "Memories, that's all. Good ones, I hope. Good ones and bad ones, too. It's a scattershot. Bits and pieces of my life popping in to say hello." Water streamed down Ellen's cheeks. Elizabeth hugged her. "It's okay. Everything's going to be okay." Elizabeth's purse hummed. She slid it off her shoulder and fumbled for her phone. "Mark's stuck in traffic. He'll be here in a few." Ellen tisked. "That boy of mine is always causing me trouble." Alice chuckled, and Ellen cracked a smile. Ellen twisted the gold ring with a rounded emerald off of her ring finger on her right hand and held it out to Alice. "This ring belonged to someone dear to my heart. I've been meaning to pass it on to you for years, but I couldn't bring myself to part with it before now." "Thanks, Grammy." Alice slid the ring onto her index finger. Tears leaked down her cheeks. An arm fell into place around her shoulder, and she leaned against her brother's side. She studied the little green stone. Age had dulled its luster, but it looked as beautiful to her then as it had when she was a child. The urge to tear it from her finger and shove it into Grammy's hand seized her. If Grammy couldn't pass on the ring, she couldn't leave. It was a foolish notion, yet Alice's fingers twitched as though readying to oblige. Ellen closed her eyes. "I'm sorry, loves," she said. "This morning has tuckered me out." Elizabeth patted her shoulder. "It's fine, Mom. Get some rest. We'll be here." So,
And there you go.
yeah, that's the first part of the prologue, and then there's a little bit more, but we have a scene break here with a nice little rose that Brian drew. So, the roses in here and then on the back were created by Brian.
So there you have it. So Amber's virtual book launch. So I think if there aren't any other questions or anything
Yeah, we'll give
like
it a few minutes for more questions, and then
we'll see how that all goes. But thank you, Amber, for joining us today.
thank you for joining me. This is my live stream.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you for having this book launch and
Thought you were like
sharing your
inviting me
thoughts.
on my own channel.
I mean, I could be interviewing you, right? Yes. I am now your channel too. I have two
Brian
channels.
has taken over everything. Oh, and this dress I'm wearing, it's not very visible in the picture in the camera, but Brian actually designed this. It has my book cover and his roses on it. So
You probably could stand up and show the.
yeah, I can
get
stand up a
little
little
closer.
bit. So
There's the white roses, the red roses. There you
yeah.
go.
So once you read the book, you'll know a little bit more about the significance of the red and white roses.
Oh, excellent. Hopefully you enjoy it when you get it, Mary.
Yes.
Mary says, "Sounds cool. All set for mine to arrive."
Yeah, so I'm eagerly waiting. I've seen I know some people are starting to get theirs in, and every time someone sends me a picture of my book in their hands, it's like so exciting. One of my friends, she's over in the UK, and she sent me a picture yesterday. So Little White Flowers is all the way over in the UK. It's like, yay! So I just love seeing all the places my book goes. And so I hope everyone gets your book soon, and I hope you all enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and
Yes, thank you so
hopefully
much.
we answered any questions you had about Amber and her writing process and the book itself.
Yes, and feel free to ask any more. I'm an open book, so
You're about to be a shut book.
I don't know if that even makes sense.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to make sense. But thank you, Mary, for joining us, and we hope you have a good read of the book when it comes along. And thank you to anyone who watches this live stream after the fact.
Yes, and sorry for the technical difficulties. I saw we had some people who just kind of disappeared. They probably got the blank screen.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the technical difficulties probably weren't so good. Will you offer the opportunity to send our copies for a signature?
I have been thinking about that. And potentially in October, I'm thinking of doing a signed copy thing. I'm hoping to have all the versions of the book, because I'm hoping to do an audiobook and a hardcover as well. And so I'm thinking maybe in the October timeframe I'll do like a signed copy thing, because I absolutely would like to do signatures for people who don't live locally, because it's really fun. I love being able to sign people's books, and I want to be able to do that for you. So yeah, just stay tuned. I will keep everyone up to date I'll try to post it on here, and I'll probably also announce it on Brian's channel when I get ready to do it, but I am really hoping to do a signed copy thing in the future.
Yeah. We also have a P.O. box, so it should be not too hard for us to get people's books and stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you again to
Yes,
everyone.
thank you everyone for coming.
And again, sorry about the technical difficulties. Hopefully we'll have these ironed out here soon.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we started early to try and iron them out, but I guess next time we'll have to start like an hour early.
Well, everything was resolved, but then it suddenly stopped being resolved and everything kind of fell apart. So it was fine. I had the audio working like 10 minutes to spare, and then
and then it
stopped.
wasn't working anymore.
So it's pretty annoying because like we had similar issues with the last live stream
Mm-hmm.
on my channel where the microphones kind of stopped working. So yeah, we'll get the audio issues ironed out because we always have to.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of doing, maybe monthly or every couple months, doing just a little cozy chat on here. And then, so probably when I have book two ready for like my title reveal, maybe we'll do a little cozy chat and I'll share like the title and release date with you all. So,
Mary says that was fun. Chapter one is when. Lol. I think she means like when are you reading chapter one?
oh, that's a good question. I don't know yet. I mean, I do want to, when I start recording the audiobook, I'll probably post a few like samples up on here. So, and that wasn't the entire prologue. There's a little bit more to it too. So, but I'll do like the first probably 3 or 4 chapters on here as a sample once I get those. But I gotta work up to it. My voice is already starting to go.
Amber's voice is not a very strong
It is
voice.
not very strong.
But yes, thank you all so much again for
Yes,
joining
it was
us.
great being able to share a little bit of my book virtually. It's too bad we can't all be in the same place, but I feel like this is the next best thing.
Mm-hmm. I do as well. But yeah. I guess that's the end of the live stream.
Yes.
Thank you again, Mary. We loved having you along and appreciated your questions. And hopefully you will enjoy the book when you get it finally.
Yeah, so thank you so much for taking the time to be here and to join this launch. And I hope you have a great day. Bye.
We'll see you later, Mary. Bye. Thank you. She says congrats